Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we are taking on the Reks Shinryu fight, and we trounced this thing pretty dang easily. And so this is kind of the fun part about, like, we just came out of a Dare to Defy cycle. Now going back to normal cycle, it's like, the shackles are freed, I can just grab whatever busted team I want and just trounce it. So I'm like, alright, well, we're going to use Reks because he's new, he's obviously meant for the fight. He's going to cancel whatever force effect the enemies have. And then we've got Core and Aerith. So this team is absolutely going to blow up the fight. Now, I talked about this in my video that went up yesterday, but I did actually get a loss on this fight. And it's a pretty easy fight. I'm not going to lie. I didn't find it that hard. But the reason I took a loss is because Reks got double tapped kind of unsuspectedly or unexpectedly. And he wasn't able to tank enough, right? Like, he still had his reductions and everything up, but yeah, he kind of covered himself to death, which was actually bad because the enemies were targeting two different characters and he jumped in front of both and each one took about half of his health. So that was kind of unfortunate because that happened late in the fight. But part of it was I didn't fully understand the enemy's mechanic, which is one of the big mechanics they have is you see they have a bunch of thresholds. And what it is 3 of those thresholds they trigger like a counterattack as soon as you meet the threshold. And it's not like a deadly counterattack or anything like that, especially when you got mitigations up, which Reks is doing. But what they do is it discourages you from going into like a burst and just one-shotting them in a burst phase. Because until they do that counterattack, you are not allowed to drop their HP below that threshold. So what happened is I didn't realize this. And by the time I did my force setup, a couple of echoes, and got into a Reks burst phase, I went through all that. I did a 500 million burst phase, but one of the enemies was locked at like 29% health, and the other one was locked at like 59% health or whatever. They were at different stopping points. And so then I came out of that. They both did their counterattacks, and then all of a sudden I could damage them again. But what happened was, like I said, they took back-to-back attacks. That was just too much for Reks to handle, and he just actually died after that. Because obviously the later you get in the fight, the enemies get stronger, and they were strong enough that they just double-tapped him when I was done. So that was kind of unfortunate, but then it just allowed me to go into the fight this time and absolutely demolished it because I fully understood what was going on. So really, I think the way to tackle this fight is not to go into a burst phase during force and try to one-turn them, because you just can't. It doesn't let you do that. So what you do is you just kind of take the fight normally, let everyone take turns, do a normal force, and you're good. The type of burst phases you would want to do in this fight, and I ended up not doing a burst phase at all, but I would say Quina would be a really good example of like a burst phase you'd want to do in this fight if you're using Quina. It's the type of fight where you could just Quina turn 1, go burst phase, and let Quina do all the stuff to get set up and get the really good burst effect up. And you don't really care about the damage because the enemies, once again, they're going to get to kind of breaking points where you just can't damage them anymore anyways. So doing a really optimized burst phase with a ton of damage just doesn't work for this fight. So I would say just, yeah, if you have a character with a burst effect that you just want up early and just want to use up their burst phase, I would say this is a fight you're kind of free to do that. So my goal in this fight is pretty much operate it the same way I did on the fight that I lost, but instead of going into a Reks burst phase, we just put the force effect up and just go to town and let our characters take turns and keep echoing. And the damage is so heavy, they go down super fast. And here's the thing. This fight is meant to be taken down quick. I don't know if you guys all looked at the mission requirements, but this thing only had a 35 turn restriction. You got to get it done quick. So it's kind of funny because it's built in a way where you kind of want to rush it because it's such a low turn count, but they kind of don't let you do it. So, and maybe this fight is harder than what I'm letting on. I mean, obviously my team is really busted and I'm using a maxed out Reks. So who knows? I could go in with some other team. I feel like though that this is a fight that isn't restrictive enough that I couldn't just take a bunch of other busted teams and go in here. Now I would have to look more closely and remind myself about what the force effect like to negate it is, because they do have a force time that you kind of want to negate. It's very similar to one that we had in the last Dare to Defy on one of the tough fights. What happens during their force time, which they're in right now, so you're going to kind of see it, but every time we do damage, they get a healing refund, and we just saw this on a recent fight, right? Now, this isn't devastating enough that you couldn't just push through it, but yeah, they're refunding a good like 90% of the damage, maybe more than that. So what you're finding is when they are in force time, you barely make any progress on them and damage them. So It is a force time I would say you want to cancel. But on the other side of it, it's not like it's a fight where you can let them take their turns and just go through the force time and get through it that way. And it's not like devastating. Because it's not like they're just on turn like healing a bunch of damage. They're just refunding damage you deal to them. And you're actually still making positive gains in terms of damage. It's just really hard. Now, I think the part that makes it tricky with their force time, though, is the turn count is what's going to get you. Because 35 turns is a very low amount. So I think having a force time that can cancel is important, whether it be Reks or someone else. Now, I believe what the cancellation was, I would have to double check it, but I think it's deal damage with a force ability while you have a special effect active. And I would have to look closely at what special effect means. I think for Reks, the special effect active, I believe, is him having his overhead with his follow-ups is what they're talking about. So I would have to look and see like what characters actually qualify for that. Would a character like Core qualify for that because he does follow-ups from a special effect? I'm not sure. That's one thing that I'm really not sure about. So if you know in the comments and you want to, for people maybe struggling with this fight, if you want to put in there like what types of forces will actually cancel, I think people would appreciate that, especially if they don't have Reks. And I haven't had time to sit and research it yet, right? But anyways, I know I got the guy, I got the thing, so we just hop in and get it done. Now, obviously, had I not pulled Rex's kit, I definitely would have figured it out and taken time to do it with other characters. I just mean, there's so many busted characters in this game, and my resources are like really low right now, but on the other side of it, I've been pulling like all of the new characters, so I've got a really nice box. Like I have a lot of options for these modern fights. My goal this month is I am really going to focus on getting Rem and Iris. Leo, I'm kind of pulling back on him a little bit, kind of in my mind. Not because I don't want to get him, but I think because I invested materials in Reks, now it's like, I think that's kind of like those were General Leo's materials. Because I really want Rem and Iris to be my focus, and I want to make sure I can get them. And once again, my tickets are basically at 0. Because as I've been getting tickets, I have been shoving them into that Noctis. I'm trying my darndest to snag that FR before he goes, and he literally goes in like 2 days, and I really want that Noctis FR, but the boy isn't having it, right? And so, and this is a behavior I haven't really done in this game in years. Normally, I hoard my tickets up, and then I say, yep, here's a banner I'm going to go in on, have at least 400 or 500 tickets to go in on a banner. Well, that's a trend that's kind of ended right now because I've been really going from ticket to ticket for a while, really low on resources and really not wanting to use my gems. I'm at about 200k gems, which is okay, but that's like 1 to 2 banners away from having 0 gems. That's like 2 pities and I'm out of gems. So even though 200k to some players might seem like a lot, that's actually pretty low, especially now that everything's wanting BT characters, right? Everything's FRBT. You have to kind of have that mindset of pity BT on every banner you want to pull for. And right now, my 2 pities are going to be Iris and Rem. And if I have to pity those, I am literally going to be out of gems. And I'm just going to have to live with it until Astos comes. I can't let Astos slip by, so I got to make sure I'm ready. And that's the other thing, like I said, the reason why I think the devs would be smart to have this global first Clive, like my whole theory, it would be a really smart time because, dude, if people are like me, June is going to wreck a lot of players' resources because, like I said, it's not like there's a number one, like, must-have character, but, like, all the characters are super fun and super good, and there's a lot of fan favorites here and a lot of really good top-tier characters that I know a lot of players are gunning for a minimum of 2, if not 3 of the characters this month, and, wanting to full invest. So it's going to eat at some people's resources. So yeah, throwing a surprise at us here at the end of June would really be a good chance for them to get people to want to buy gems, right? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, you can see here, we're just kind of going through naturally, and these enemies, they melt away quick. Like, they don't have a ton of HP, and we're just doing a ton of damage. But here we are, 900%, 6 turns left of force. It's one of those cases where we don't even do a burst phase, and we still have, like, I think we have like 4 force turns by the time we're done here. And we just get through no problem. Yeah, look at 14 mil AoE, and that was after he had already did his like 7 or 8 mil follow-ups or whatever at, the start of his turn. But Tentacle Knock, so that is the attack. You see that enemy on the left got locked at 39. Now he did Tentacle Knock, now he can go below that. Core hopping in doing just a crap ton of damage. Like Core jumping in with a couple of 5 mil shots, like that's not bad, right? Reks getting hit. And the thing with Reks' FR that I like, it has that off-turn 20%. So it's really effective. Even without Echo, you can push the full gauge pretty easily in an aggressive fight. So I am a big fan of Reks' FR. I think it is a very nice one. All right, so there we pop Shiva. I'm like, all right, once I knew they were done with their last threshold, I'm like, yeah, let's just hit Shiva and finish them off. We'll hit the Seal Evil here. And damage coming through really heavy now. Yeah, 22 mil for my girl Aerith there. That's a really nice big shot. And then we still have Echo. So we're going to Echo here with Core and absolutely demolish. Still having 4 turns left on the Force. So there's a lot of damage to still be had here. Those enemies could probably regen at full health, and I probably still could have taken them out with those last 4 turns, because the damage is so heavy when you're at the end of a force gauge like that. So there you go. Really quite easy once I understood that threshold mechanic, that I can't just bum rush through with the burst phase. That's fine. Just take it slow. And Aerith is a really nice buffer. I think the one thing I do want to say about Reks, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe pause the video here. Let's give me 1 second here. Let's just go ahead and pause there. Actually, I want to go back just so there's something on the screen here. Hold on, let's just hit this. Yeah, here we can just go here and have it kind of just paused on the screen. But the reason why I think Reks is a nice pseudo tank, right? But I think Reks is the type of tank where if you can complement him with one of the other characters just to help the tanking a little bit, I think it's really good, right? So I think a character like Gao, for example, is a nice little buffer, because Gao's going to be countering, helping with the damage, but then healing and helping keep Reks healed up. Because Reks doesn't, like, he heals with his AA, but he doesn't do any, like, auto healing, like when he takes damage like Rubicante does. He doesn't have, like, a big on-turn burst heal that he can do to heal back up. So having somebody like Gao as a buffer is really nice, or like Aerith here I think is a really nice buffer, because if we do have an unfortunate situation where Reks gets caught, well, I've got Aerith's BT effect up, at least we revive and we can keep going, right? So things like that I think are really nice. Or complementing, I think Warrior of Light is actually a really nice complement to Reks. So if you have Reks and Warrior of Light, like, you're for sure not going to die. And I mean, Warrior of Light alone is definitely good enough, but then like having Reks with the big damage, Warrior of Light, he does have locks, so you'd be fighting over the locks. You might have to be careful about that, but Warrior of Light, you definitely, wouldn't have to have him locked. Well, actually, no, lock is fine, because Reks is a cover tank, right? So it does work out, because Warrior of Light will have the big beefy shields, and then you're going to have all the Brave damage reduction, all the HP damage reduction, which both Warrior of Light and Reks are giving. And then Reks is going to be cover tanking, so he's still getting hit, building up his thing. Yeah, I think Warrior of Light is a really nice complement. Then you could just throw, and because Reks can, like, be your DPS, you could throw in another really nice support or like Core, right? So, you could have, say, instead of Core on this build, you put Warrior of Light there. That's a really nice team build. Or you could keep Core and instead of Aerith, maybe do Warrior of Light. Very good. And Warrior of Light, because he's got Echo, he actually has really good damage. He's doing more than just shielding. He's got competitive damage. So yeah, I think there's a lot of fun possibilities here with Reks. Very fun character. I do definitely like him. Let me know how you handled this fight. Let me know if you're liking Reks or not. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.